Welcome to the first ever Student Media Candidate Briefing. For the first time this year, student media leadership roles will be elected. So congratulations on nominating yourself and stepping into your greatness. This briefing is to make sure everyone is aware of what they can and cannot do during the election period, so everyone is on the same page. You will also receive the slides in this video as a reference to the rules. Let's get into it. So what are elections? As a democratic organisation, all our leadership positions are elected. Elections are a secret ballot where students vote for candidates across a number of positions. This year, we've reduced the amount of positions we have to better support the leaders and encourage student media at MDX to be more independent. This will mean that successful candidates will be required to build teams. The leadership positions this year are radio station manager, TV station manager, online and print publication editor, and marketing manager. These names will be subject to change with the upcoming rebrand of PAL Media. The rules. The rules are split into 4 sections. Contextual, which is the broader aspect of standing in MDXSU elections. Behaviours, which looks at how we expect every candidate to conduct themselves during the election. Expenditure. This aspect is very simple but very important to understand, especially if you stood in a main MDXSU election. And campaigning, which relates to what you can and cannot do during the elections. These rules are quite self-explanatory. Whilst you are a candidate in the election, you are also a student and a citizen, so you must still abide by the rules that are in place for everyone. For example, MDXSU's Code of Conduct and Code of Good Behaviour still apply, as do the university's regulations. It's best to go about your campaigning with the same respect for other candidates, students and the environment as you would a student not campaigning. Also, the law still applies. Some candidates may be lucky enough to have other people supporting their campaigns. It is important that these people are also aware of the rules, as any rule breaking by these people means you will be held to account, so it's in your best interest. Only worry about your own campaign. Don't go removing other candidates' material, even if it's in a different election. The university are very strict on students putting posters up around campus, so please only use student notice boards around campus. There are enough of them to go around in the Grove, Quad, College Building and MDX House. You probably won't need to put too many posters up anyway, but when you do, just be aware of the rules. Remember to campaign respectfully. As mentioned before, MDXSU policies of good behaviour still exist. This is mostly a point for those of you who may have stood in the main MDXSU elections where you had a budget you could spend. This is not the case for this election. You must not spend any money on your election campaign. Of course, the university's free printing policy still exists, so you can print material for this purpose. There's a specific clause in the policy that allows you to print for this purpose. You cannot get an endorsement from any student group. The social media accounts of any student groups cannot support a specific candidate, and if you have access to them, you must not post anything like this. We are monitoring these pages. You can, however, use groups and WhatsApp groups to announce your candidacy, as long as you do not use your current title within the announcement. You must not in any circumstance use emails for the purpose of campaigning. This is now a legal restriction, so make sure you're not emailing people. There shouldn't be any society events going on now, but if there are, and even at a society meeting, you cannot have a platform to address members about your campaign. Your campaign material can only feature your name in it. You cannot support other candidates running for other positions. As we said, only use approved places to stick posters up around campus. Absolutely no campaigning in the library or religious spaces, and you cannot get people to vote for you on your device. You can tell people where they need to go to vote, but no more than that. You cannot campaign in any forms until your nomination has been confirmed. This only happens at the end of the nomination period. Let's talk about the voting system. Our elections are run using the single transferable voting system. This means that voters get to rank their candidates in order of preference. When candidates are eliminated, their transfers are moved up to the next person. It is worth asking people for their second and third preferences if they are voting for someone else. Let's take a look at this example. This is round 1 of an election, where a total of 160 votes were cast. This means the quota is 80 votes. In the first round, Lucy's in the lead with 60 votes, but it's not enough to win the election, so it goes on to the second round. The person with the lowest amount of votes is knocked out. In this case, Ron is knocked out. Ron stands for Reopen Nominations. Yes, that means that any student can vote to reopen the nominations process. So if Ron was to win, the nominations would be reopened and elections would take place at a later date. Whoever voted for Ron as their first choice, their second votes will now be taken into consideration. In this case, 10 second votes have gone to Ben, 0 have gone to Alice, and 5 have gone to Lucy. This means that the quota still hasn't been met, and it goes to the third round. In the third round, Alice has been knocked out, and 30 of her second votes have gone to Ben, and only 5 have gone to Lucy. And although the quota hasn't yet been reached, Lucy would then be knocked out, leaving Ben as a successful candidate. So this just goes to show how important those second and third votes are. All election queries must be submitted to the PAL Media inbox at palmedia@mdxsu.com. All student media related queries must continue to go to Andre Thompson at a.thompson@mdx.ac.uk. The deadline for complaints is an hour after voting closes and must be submitted in writing to the PAL Media inbox. That's all from me, and best of luck in the elections.